I'm Mr. Algebra, and I'm here to talk to you about illustration. Illustration is a process of the writer trying to put an image into the reader's mind to help them better understand what the writer is trying to say. Illustration can help make your paper more enjoyable to read, and it's not so bland that people just get bored and just throw it in the trash. When you speak, you use illustration by putting a picture in somebody's head, whether you realize it or not. When you describe something that happened to you over the weekend or the event that happened last night, you're putting a picture into your audience's head. You have had to do this with your writing as well. It makes it more enjoyable to read, and the audience can really understand what you are talking about. The old saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words best explains popularity of illustration. Now, trying to describe what you are getting across, like the point or whatever you're trying to write about, it is important to select appropriate examples. You want to make sure that your examples stay on target and actually support your general statement. You don't want to veer off into an intriguing side issue to confuse your audience. See that your examples display all the chief features of whatever you are illustrating. Now, what is a good number of examples to have? One long one, a few brief ones, or a lot of short little tiny examples? Well, it all depends on what your topic is. When you're illustrating about one single person or thing, your best bet would to be have one example, since that person or thing must possess all of those traits. When you're dealing with trends, however, you will need several examples. Sometimes topics that don't involve trends require more than one example. Finally, some topics require a whole series of examples, as if you were trying to prove a point. It just all depends on the topic that you're writing about. Decide your topic and then decide how many examples you will end up needing to prove your point. Now, when organizing your examples, it all depends on what you want to do. It all depends on how you write your paragraph or your essay. It depends on what your topic is. If you want to start with your strong point, then you want your strongest example. If you're going to start with your least point, you want to start with your least example. Now, if you look in your book, Strategies for Successful Writing, on page 137, you could go through this chart with me. For writing an illustration, you need to first plan. You need to identify and write key concepts and observations by talking to other people or by writing down your own observations. Then you need to identify a purpose. There's no sense of writing an essay if you have no purpose. And then you need to identify your audience and who you're going to write to. Then next you have to brainstorm your examples and details of your essay. Decide how many examples you are going to need and how you're going to place them. Then select your best examples. Determine pattern of organization. Categories, order of importance, and time. These are all good steps into determining your organization. Then you need to create a rough plan. And then if you don't have a good enough plan that you'd like, go back and brainstorm once more. Next, you need to write a rough draft. A rough draft, this is your first time just writing it. It's not going to be perfect. Intro engages reader and establishes topic. This is probably one of the most important steps because this grabs the reader's attention. Body provides examples with detail. This is where you're going to put your examples. This is how you're going to describe in this little piece right here called the body. Next, it is the conclusion, which reestablishes the point. You're going back to your main topic and revising what you have spoken before in the body. Next, you revise, collect, and use peer responses. Check fit to main point. Add examples or details if needed. Cut what doesn't work. If it doesn't work, then there is no sense of having it in your writing. Test organization and test for ethics. You want it to be ethical. You don't want it to be false statements. You want it to be true. Don't lie to your audience. It is always nice to have peers critique you in your writing. It makes you a better writer, and it helps you understand what you need to do and what your audience is going to like. For an example of a student essay on writing illustration, you could go to page 132 to 134 and read the essay.